In the shadowy world of Cold War espionage, where paranoia and secrecy reign supreme, one plot is particularly chilling. Welcome to our deep dive into Operation Northwoods, a conspiracy theory that blurs the line between reality and fiction. In a dimly lit room, the soft hum of a vintage projector filled the air, casting a flickering light that danced across the walls. Shadows moved like ghosts, weaving through the darkness as a reel of old film began to play. The grainy images of 1960s America flickered to life, bringing with them a palpable sense of tension and unease. This was an era defined by paranoia, secrecy, and the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation. The Cold War had cast a long and ominous shadow over the globe, and at its epicenter stood two superpowers locked in a deadly embrace: the United States and the Soviet Union. The narrative began to unfold, taking us back to a world teetering on the brink of catastrophe. It was the year 1962, a time when the Cuban Missile Crisis had thrust the world to the very edge of nuclear war. The black and white footage captured the stark reality of those days. President John F. Kennedy addressing the nation, grim-faced generals huddled in tense meetings, and American citizens anxiously watching the news, fearing that each day might be their last. Against this backdrop of fear and uncertainty, the story of Operation Northwoods began to emerge, a tale so bizarre and unsettling that it seemed more like the plot of a dystopian novel than a chapter in American history. As the camera panned across the faces of those living in this era, the voiceover narrated the chilling events that were set in motion behind closed doors. Deep within the labyrinthine halls of the Pentagon, a group of high-ranking military officials convened in secret. These were men of power and influence, entrusted with the nation's security, yet driven by a singular obsession: the elimination of the communist threat posed by Fidel Castro's Cuba. In their minds, Castro's Cuba was a dagger pointed at the heart of America, a beachhead for Soviet influence just 90 miles from U.S. shores. The Bay of Pigs invasion had been a humiliating failure, and the Cuban Missile Crisis had brought the world to the precipice of disaster. Something had to be done to neutralize this threat, and these men believed they had the answer. Operation Northwoods was born out of this climate of desperation and fear. It was a plan that, if executed, would involve a series of false flag terrorist attacks on American soil, all designed to create a pretext for a military invasion of Cuba. The sheer audacity and ruthlessness of the proposals were staggering. These were not the fevered imaginings of conspiracy theorists. They were carefully crafted plans, meticulously detailed in official documents. The proposals outlined in Operation Northwoods were as varied as they were chilling. One plan involved staging fake attacks on American cities, complete with real explosions and fabricated casualties. Another suggested hijacking planes, a tactic that would later become all too real in the tragic events of September 11, 2001. There were even proposals to sink boats filled with Cuban refugees, sacrificing innocent lives to create a justification for war. One particularly audacious plan involved launching a fake Cuban attack on a U.S. military base, using actors and special effects to make it appear genuine. The ultimate goal was to manipulate public opinion through these staged events, galvanizing support for a full-scale invasion of Cuba. As the details of these proposals were revealed, the camera lingered on the declassified documents that had brought Operation Northwoods to light. These documents, long hidden from public view, were now exposed for all to see. Their contents a stark reminder of the lengths to which those in power were willing to go. Highlighted passages revealed the signatures of some of the highest-ranking military officials, men whose names were synonymous with duty and honor, yet who had endorsed a plan that seemed to defy both. In interviews with historians and military experts, the implications of Operation Northwoods were dissected and analyzed. Operation Northwoods is one of the most startling examples of how far the U.S. military was prepared to go during the Cold War, said one historian. The fact that these proposals made it to the president's desk is both fascinating and terrifying. A military expert added, while none of these plans were ever executed, The very existence of Operation Northwoods raises significant ethical and moral questions about the limits of government power and the lengths to which it might go to achieve its objectives. As the narrative continued, the story turned to President John F. Kennedy, the man who ultimately rejected the Operation Northwoods proposals. In a dramatic reenactment, we saw Kennedy in the Oval Office, shaking his head in disbelief as he read through the documents. Here was a president faced with a choice that would test his moral and ethical convictions. Despite the intense pressure from his military advisors, Kennedy refused to authorize any plan that would endanger American lives and manipulate the public through deceit. His decision to reject Operation Northwoods was a defining moment in his presidency, a testament to his commitment to integrity and justice, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. Though Operation Northwoods never came to fruition, its legacy continues to reverberate through history. It has fueled countless conspiracy theories and has become a symbol of government overreach and the potential for deception. The story of Operation Northwoods serves as a stark reminder of the dark possibilities that can arise in times of fear and uncertainty. As the projector's light began to fade, the screen went dark, leaving the audience to ponder the unsettling truths that had been revealed. How much do we really know about the forces that shape our world? What other secrets lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? The story of Operation Northwoods is a cautionary tale, a reminder that vigilance and skepticism are essential in safeguarding the principles of democracy and justice. The journey into the heart of one of history's most controversial conspiracy theories had come to an end, but the questions it raised would linger, challenging us to remain curious, vigilant, and ever watchful. In the heart of the Pentagon, a place where strategies that shaped the fate of nations were conceived, a select group of high-ranking officials gathered behind closed doors. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the air of secrecy was palpable. These men, draped in the authority of their ranks and the weight of their responsibilities, were united by a common goal: to find a definitive solution to the Cuban problem. The specter of communism loomed large over the Western Hemisphere, embodied in the figure of Fidel Castro, whose rise to power in Cuba had sent shockwaves through the corridors of American power. As the meeting commenced, the room was filled with the rustle of papers, the click of pens, and the low murmur of hushed conversations. Charts, maps, and intelligence reports were spread out on the table, a testament to the meticulous planning that had gone into this clandestine operation. The officials, their faces etched with lines of stress and determination, were men who had seen the ravages of war and understood the high stakes involved. They knew that the geopolitical landscape was a delicate balance, one that could tip into chaos at any moment. Leading the charge was General Lyman Lemnitzer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. A man of formidable intellect and steely resolve, Lemnitzer was a seasoned military strategist who had served his country through multiple conflicts. His voice, measured and authoritative, carried the weight of experience as he outlined the dire necessity of action against Cuba. The failed Bay of Pigs invasion had not only been a strategic blunder, but a blow to American prestige. The subsequent Cuban Missile Crisis had brought the world perilously close to nuclear war, and though it had been defused, the threat from Cuba remained ever present. Lemnitzer and his colleagues were convinced that only a decisive military intervention could neutralize this threat. But how could they justify such an action to the American public and the international community? The answer, they believed, lay in a series of audacious and morally dubious proposals collectively known as Operation Northwoods. These proposals, crafted with cold precision, were designed to create a compelling casus belli, a pretext for war that would galvanize public opinion and rally support for an invasion of Cuba. The room fell silent as Lemnitzer began to detail the components of Operation Northwoods. His words, though delivered with clinical detachment, painted a chilling picture of deception and manipulation. One proposal involved staging attacks on American cities, complete with explosions, fires, and fabricated casualties. The goal was to create a sense of outrage and fear among the American populace, directing their anger towards Cuba. Another plan called for the hijacking of civilian aircraft. The idea was to create a scenario in which Cuban operatives would appear to seize control of the planes, threatening the lives of innocent passengers. This, too, would be a fabricated event, orchestrated with precision to ensure maximum impact. The imagery of hijacked planes and endangered citizens was powerful, evoking deep-seated fears and anxieties that would drive public demand for a strong retaliatory response. Perhaps the most grotesque proposal involved sinking boats filled with Cuban refugees attempting to flee to the United States. The rationale behind this was diabolically simple. The loss of innocent lives would be blamed on Castro's regime, casting him as a monstrous villain in the eyes of the world. The officials discussed the logistics of this plan with a dispassionate pragmatism, weighing the potential benefits against the risks. There was even a suggestion to launch a fake attack on a U.S. military base, using actors and special effects to simulate a Cuban assault. This would be the ultimate false flag operation, a carefully staged event designed to provoke outrage and justify a military response. The details of how this could be executed were discussed in meticulous detail, from the choice of location to the timing and execution of the staged attack. As Lemnitz's presentation drew to a close, the room was filled with a heavy silence. The men around the table knew the gravity of what was being proposed. These were not the fevered imaginings of conspiracy theorists, but carefully crafted plans endorsed by some of the most powerful figures in the U.S. military. The ethical and moral implications were profound, yet in the desperate calculus of Cold War strategy, such considerations were often overshadowed by the perceived necessity of achieving strategic objectives. The documents outlining Operation Northwoods were prepared for submission to the highest echelons of government. These declassified documents, which would eventually come to light decades later, bore the signatures of top military officials, lending an unsettling legitimacy to the proposals. Highlighted passages revealed the cold logic and ruthless pragmatism that underpinned these plans, starkly juxtaposed against the ideals of democracy and justice that the United States purported to uphold. In the following days, these documents made their way to the desk of President John F. Kennedy. Kennedy, a leader known for his charisma and commitment to ethical governance, found himself confronted with a decision that would test the very core of his moral and ethical beliefs. The proposals were laid out before him, their implications clear. He read through the documents, the gravity of the situation etched into his face. Here was a president who had navigated the treacherous waters of the Cuban Missile Crisis, who understood the perilous dance of Cold War diplomacy. Yet, as he reviewed the details of Operation Northwoods, he was faced with a stark choice. Kennedy's reaction was one of profound disbelief and moral outrage. The very idea of staging false flag operations to deceive the American public and the world at large was anathema to the principles he held dear. Despite the intense pressure from his military advisors, who argued that such actions were necessary to protect national security, Kennedy stood firm in his conviction. He refused to authorize any plan that would endanger American lives and manipulate public sentiment through deceit and subterfuge. The rejection of Operation Northwoods by President Kennedy was a pivotal moment in his presidency, a testament to his commitment to integrity and justice. It was a decision that underscored the importance of ethical governance, even in the face of overwhelming opposition and the complexities of global politics. Though the proposals were never acted upon, the very existence of Operation Northwoods would leave an indelible mark on history. In the years that followed, the story of Operation Northwoods would be unearthed through declassified documents, fueling countless conspiracy theories and sparking intense debate. It became a symbol of government overreach and the potential for deception, a stark reminder of the dark possibilities that can arise in times of fear and uncertainty. The narrative of Operation Northwoods serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that vigilance and skepticism are essential in safeguarding the principles of democracy and justice. As the shadows of history were illuminated, the questions it raised would linger, challenging future generations to remain ever watchful and ever vigilant. The details of Operation Northwoods were so audacious that they might have seemed like the fevered imaginings of a paranoid mind, if not for the cold, hard evidence that emerged decades later. In the trove of declassified documents, the true extent of the U.S. military's plans to justify a war with Cuba was laid bare. These documents were not just relics of a bygone era. They were windows into the psyche of a nation gripped by fear and driven by the perceived necessity to dominate global affairs. As the narrative unfolded, the camera zoomed in on the yellowed pages of these declassified documents. The ink, faded but still legible, told a story of meticulous planning and chilling pragmatism. Passages were highlighted, drawing attention to the most egregious proposals. The documents bore the signatures of high-ranking officials, their names a stark reminder of the authority and influence behind these plans. Among the signatures was that of General Lyman Lemnitzer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, whose role in the formulation of Operation Northwoods had been pivotal. Historians and military experts were called upon to provide context and analysis. Their voices, infused with a mix of fascination and horror, dissected the implications of these proposals. One historian noted, Operation Northwoods is one of the most startling examples of how far the U.S. military was prepared to go during the Cold War. The fact that these proposals made it to the president's desk is both fascinating and terrifying. Military experts provided a sobering perspective on the potential outcomes of such a plan. Had Operation Northwoods been executed, it could have led to an escalation beyond anyone's control, said one expert. The very fabric of trust between the government and its citizens would have been irreparably damaged. The ethical and moral boundaries that define a democratic society would have been obliterated. The camera then shifted to interviews with individuals who had first-hand knowledge of the Cold War era. Retired military officers, intelligence analysts, and political advisors shared their recollections, painting a vivid picture of the atmosphere of paranoia and urgency that pervaded the halls of power. One retired officer recalled, "There was a pervasive sense of impending doom. The Cuban Missile Crisis had shaken us to our core, and there was a belief that drastic measures were necessary to prevent another such crisis." These personal accounts added a layer of depth to the story, humanizing the abstract concepts of strategy and policy. They revealed the internal struggles of those who were tasked with balancing national security with ethical considerations. One intelligence analyst, who had reviewed the Operation Northwoods documents, described the experience as a chilling glimpse into the lengths we were willing to go to protect our interests. It was a stark reminder of the darker side of human nature. The narrative also explored the broader context of the time, delving into the geopolitical landscape that had given rise to such extreme proposals. The Cold War was a period marked by intense rivalry and suspicion between the United States and the Soviet Union. Each side viewed the other as an existential threat, and this mutual distrust fueled an arms race and a series of proxy wars around the globe. In this climate of fear, actions that might have seemed unthinkable in peacetime were rationalized as necessary evils. The camera lingered on scenes of the Cuban Missile Crisis, with archival footage showing President Kennedy addressing the nation, Soviet ships en route to Cuba, and U.S. military forces on high alert. These images underscored the gravity of the situation and the high stakes involved. The fear of nuclear war was not an abstract concept. It was a daily reality for those living in the early 1960s. The sense of urgency and desperation that permeated the era provided a backdrop against which the extreme measures proposed in Operation Northwoods could be understood, if not condoned. As the story moved forward, attention turned to the momentous decision by President John F. Kennedy to reject Operation Northwoods. This decision was not made lightly. Kennedy was acutely aware of the pressures and expectations placed upon him by his military advisors and the broader political establishment. Yet he was also guided by a steadfast commitment to ethical governance and a deep-seated belief in the principles of democracy. In a dramatized reenactment, The Oval Office was bathed in the soft glow of lamplight as Kennedy reviewed the Operation Northwoods documents. His face, etched with a mix of determination and disbelief, reflected the weight of the decision before him. The camera captured the tension in the room, the silent exchange of glances between the president and his advisors, the unspoken acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation. Kennedy's rejection of Operation Northwoods was a defining moment in his presidency. It was a decision that underscored his commitment to integrity and justice, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. By refusing to authorize the proposed false flag operations, Kennedy set a precedent for ethical leadership that would resonate through the ages. His decision was a testament to the power of moral courage and the importance of adhering to democratic principles, even in the most challenging of circumstances. The narrative then explored the aftermath of Kennedy's decision. While the proposals of Operation Northwoods were never acted upon, the very existence of such plans had far-reaching implications. The declassified documents, once made public, sparked intense debate and fueled a host of conspiracy theories. They became a symbol of government overreach and the potential for deception, a stark reminder of the dark possibilities that can arise in times of fear and uncertainty. In the years that followed, Operation Northwoods would become a touchstone for discussions about the limits of government power and the ethical boundaries of statecraft. It served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of vigilance and skepticism in safeguarding the principles of democracy and justice. The story of Operation Northwoods is a complex and multifaceted narrative, one that challenges us to confront the darker aspects of history while striving to uphold the values that define a free and just society. As the episode drew to a close, the camera panned across the faces of modern-day audiences, their expressions a mix of shock and contemplation. The legacy of Operation Northwoods, though rooted in a specific historical context, had broader implications that resonated across time and space. It was a story that invited viewers to reflect on the nature of power, the fragility of trust, and the enduring importance of ethical leadership. The screen faded to black, leaving the audience to ponder the unsettling truths that had been revealed. The story of Operation Northwoods was not just a historical curiosity, it was a powerful reminder of the need for constant vigilance in the defense of democracy. As the credits rolled, a final message appeared on the screen. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and remember that the past holds lessons that can guide us towards a better future. With that, the episode came to an end, leaving viewers with much to think about and discuss. The story of Operation Northwoods, with its blend of intrigue, ethical dilemmas, and historical significance, had left an indelible mark, challenging us all to remain ever watchful and ever committed to the principles that define a just and democratic society. As the narrative turned to President John F. Kennedy, the tension in the story reached its peak. Here was a man at the helm of a nation navigating one of the most perilous periods in modern history. The Cuban Missile Crisis had already demonstrated his ability to stand firm in the face of immense pressure, and now he faced another momentous decision. The Oval Office, a symbol of American power and decision-making, was a place of intense scrutiny and heavy responsibility. It was here that Kennedy confronted the details of Operation Northwoods. The proposals, with their meticulous detail and cold-blooded pragmatism, were spread out before him. Each document was a stark reminder of the lengths to which some were willing to go to secure national interests. Kennedy, a leader known for his charisma and eloquence, was also deeply principled. He had navigated through the treacherous waters of the Cuban Missile Crisis with a combination of resolve and diplomacy, averting what could have been a catastrophic nuclear war. The decisions he made during those 13 days in October 1962 were a testament to his commitment to peace and his understanding of the grave responsibilities of his office. As he reviewed the proposals for Operation Northwoods, Kennedy was struck by the sheer audacity and moral bankruptcy of the plans. The idea of orchestrating false flag operations to deceive the American public and the world at large was antithetical to everything he believed in. The documents detailed plans to stage attacks on American soil, hijack civilian aircraft, and sink boats filled with Cuban refugees. These were not mere theoretical exercises. They were concrete proposals endorsed by some of the highest-ranking officials in the U.S. military. The weight of the decision before him was immense. Kennedy understood the strategic rationale behind the proposals. The threat posed by Castro's Cuba was real, and the fear of communism spreading in the Western Hemisphere was a driving force in American foreign policy. Yet he also understood the ethical implications of such actions. The very foundation of American democracy was built on principles of truth, justice, and transparency. To engage in such deceit would be to betray those principles and undermine the trust of the American people. In the quiet of the Oval Office, Kennedy's mind was a whirl of thoughts. He considered the potential fallout of rejecting the proposals. The military advisors who had brought these plans to him were powerful figures, men who wielded significant influence within the government. To reject their proposals outright was to risk alienating them and potentially weakening his own position. Yet Kennedy's moral compass pointed him in a clear direction. He knew that he could not, in good conscience, authorize such actions. Kennedy's rejection of Operation Northwoods was communicated with a firm yet measured response. He made it clear that while he understood the strategic imperatives that had led to the formulation of these plans, he could not condone actions that involved deceit and the deliberate endangerment of innocent lives. His decision was a reflection of his steadfast commitment to ethical governance, even in the face of immense pressure. The aftermath of Kennedy's decision was complex. Within the Pentagon and among his military advisors, there was a mix of disappointment, frustration, and respect. Some saw his decision as a failure to take necessary action to protect national security, while others admired his adherence to ethical principles. For Kennedy, the decision was a reaffirmation of the values that had guided his presidency. The story then turned to the broader implications of Kennedy's decision and the legacy of Operation Northwoods. Although the proposals were never acted upon, their very existence raised significant questions about the limits of government power and the potential for abuse. The declassified documents that revealed the details of Operation Northwoods would, in later years, become a focal point for discussions about government transparency and accountability. Historians and political analysts reflected on the significance of Kennedy's decision. One historian noted, Kennedy's rejection of Operation Northwoods was a pivotal moment in American history. It was a decision that underscored the importance of ethical leadership and the need to uphold democratic principles, even in the most challenging of circumstances. A political analyst added, the very fact that such proposals were put forward is a stark reminder of the potential for government overreach. Kennedy's decision set a precedent for future leaders, emphasizing the need for integrity and accountability in governance. The narrative also explored the broader impact of Operation Northwoods on public trust in government. The revelation of these proposals, decades later, would fuel a host of conspiracy theories and deepen public skepticism about government actions. For many, the existence of Operation Northwoods was evidence of the potential for deception and manipulation at the highest levels of power. It served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the need for vigilance and skepticism in holding government accountable. As the camera panned over scenes of modern-day America, the legacy of Kennedy's decision and the revelations of Operation Northwoods were palpable. The principles of truth, justice, and transparency that Kennedy had upheld were as relevant today as they were in the 1960s. The story of Operation Northwoods was a stark reminder of the importance of ethical leadership and the enduring need to protect democratic values. In closing, the narrative returned to the figure of Kennedy, a leader who had faced immense challenges and made decisions that shaped the course of history. His rejection of Operation Northwoods was a testament to his moral courage and his unwavering commitment to the principles of democracy. It was a decision that would resonate through the ages, a powerful reminder of the importance of integrity and accountability in governance. The episode ended with a call to action for viewers. encouraging them to remain vigilant and engaged in the democratic process. The story of Operation Northwoods, though rooted in a specific historical context, had broader implications that were relevant to contemporary society. It was a story that invited reflection and dialogue, challenging viewers to consider the ethical dimensions of government actions and the importance of upholding democratic values. As the screen faded to black, the message was clear. The past holds valuable lessons that can guide us towards a better future. The story of Operation Northwoods was a powerful reminder of the need for ethical leadership and the enduring importance of truth, justice, and transparency in the pursuit of a just and democratic society. Though Operation Northwoods never came to fruition, its legacy has echoed through the corridors of history, leaving an indelible mark on how we perceive government actions and the potential for deception. The implications of the proposals, even in their unexecuted form, have been far-reaching, influencing public trust and shaping the discourse around governmental transparency and accountability. The story of Operation Northwoods first came to light in the late 1990s, when declassified documents were released under the Freedom of Information Act. These documents provided a rare glimpse into the inner workings of Cold War-era military strategy and revealed the extent to which the U.S. government was willing to go to justify military intervention. The release of these documents was met with a mix of shock, disbelief, and outrage. Public reaction was swift and intense. For many, the revelation that high-ranking military officials had seriously considered such morally dubious plans was a profound betrayal of trust. The proposals outlined in Operation Northwoods were not the delusions of fringe elements, but had the endorsement of some of the highest-ranking officials in the military establishment. The idea that the government could contemplate staging attacks on its own citizens to manipulate public opinion was deeply unsettling and fueled a wave of skepticism and cynicism towards the government. Media coverage of the declassified documents was extensive. Newspapers, television programs, and radio shows delved into the details of Operation Northwoods, sparking a nationwide conversation about the limits of governmental power and the ethical boundaries of statecraft. Editorials and opinion pieces debated the implications of the revelations, with some commentators drawing parallels to other historical instances of government overreach and deception. The narrative then shifted to the broader impact of Operation Northwoods on conspiracy theories and public perception of government actions. The existence of such proposals provided fertile ground for conspiracy theorists who saw in Operation Northwoods a validation of their suspicions about government secrecy and manipulation. The idea that the government could stage false flag operations to achieve its objectives became a central tenet in a host of conspiracy theories, ranging from the Kennedy assassination to the events of September 11, 2001. For conspiracy theorists, Operation Northwoods was a smoking gun, proof that the government was capable of orchestrating events to deceive the public. This narrative was amplified by the internet, where forums and websites dedicated to uncovering government conspiracies proliferated. The story of Operation Northwoods was frequently cited as evidence of the dark underbelly of government actions, fueling distrust and suspicion among segments of the population. In the academic sphere, the revelations about Operation Northwoods prompted a re-evaluation of Cold War-era military strategy and the ethical considerations that guided government actions. Scholars and historians examined the broader context in which these proposals were formulated, exploring the intense pressure and fear that characterized the period. The ethical and moral dimensions of Operation Northwoods became a focal point for discussions about the limits of state power and the importance of accountability and transparency in governance. One significant area of impact was the realm of civil liberties and governmental oversight. The story of Operation Northwoods underscored the need for robust mechanisms to check governmental power and prevent abuses. Advocacy groups and civil liberties organizations seized upon the revelations to push for greater transparency and accountability in government operations. The narrative of Operation Northwoods became a powerful tool in their campaigns, a stark reminder of the potential for government overreach and the need for vigilance in protecting democratic values. In the political arena, the legacy of Operation Northwoods influenced the discourse around national security and the balance between security and civil liberties. Lawmakers and policymakers grappled with the ethical implications of the revelations, debating how to ensure that governmental power was exercised responsibly and transparently. The story of Operation Northwoods served as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of maintaining ethical standards in the pursuit of national security objectives. The impact of Operation Northwoods also extended to popular culture. The story became a subject of interest for filmmakers, authors, and artists, who explored its themes in various forms of media. Documentaries and films delved into the details of the proposals, dramatizing the ethical dilemmas faced by those in power. Novels and graphic novels incorporated elements of the story into their plots, using it as a backdrop to explore themes of trust, deception, and the complexities of governance. In classrooms and lecture halls, the story of Operation Northwoods became a case study in ethics and government. Educators used the revelations to prompt discussions about the responsibilities of those in power and the importance of ethical decision-making. Students were challenged to consider the broader implications of government actions and to reflect on the values that should guide those entrusted with the public's trust. The enduring legacy of Operation Northwoods is a testament to the powerful lessons it holds for future generations. It serves as a reminder of the importance of ethical leadership and the need for constant vigilance in protecting democratic values. The story invites us to reflect on the balance between national security and civil liberties, to consider the ethical boundaries of statecraft, and to remain ever watchful in holding those in power accountable. As the narrative of Operation Northwoods continues to unfold, its lessons remain relevant. The story challenges us to question the actions of our leaders, to demand transparency and accountability, and to uphold the principles of truth and justice that define a democratic society. It is a powerful reminder that in the pursuit of security, we must never lose sight of the values that underpin our democracy. The story of Operation Northwoods is not just a historical curiosity. It is a call to action, a reminder of the importance of ethical governance and the enduring need to protect the principles that define a just and democratic society. The impact and legacy of Operation Northwoods extend far beyond the specific details of the proposals themselves. As the story came to light, it sparked a broader discussion about the relationship between government power and democratic accountability, as well as the ethical boundaries of statecraft. This chapter delves into the long-term consequences of Operation Northwoods, exploring how its revelations have shaped public discourse, influenced policy, and left a lasting mark on American society. When the declassified documents of Operation Northwoods were released to the public, they caused an immediate and profound reaction. For many Americans, the idea that their government had seriously considered orchestrating attacks on its own citizens to justify a war with Cuba was a jarring wake-up call. This revelation challenged the public's faith in their leaders and institutions, and it fueled a burgeoning distrust of government that had been growing since the tumultuous events of the 1960s and 1970s. The immediate public response was a mix of shock, anger, and disbelief. Newspapers across the country ran headlines about the startling proposals, and editorial pages were filled with op-eds debating the implications. Television news programs dedicated extensive coverage to the story, featuring interviews with historians, political analysts, and former government officials who offered their perspectives on the gravity of the revelations. The discussions often centered on the ethical and moral dimensions of the proposals, questioning how such plans could have been conceived by those entrusted with the nation's security. As the initial shock subsided, the story of Operation Northwoods began to influence the broader cultural landscape. Filmmakers, authors, and artists found in the story a rich source of material for exploring themes of trust, deception, and the limits of governmental power. Documentaries and feature films dramatized the events, bringing the story to a wider audience and prompting viewers to consider the ethical dilemmas faced by those in positions of power. Novels and graphic novels incorporated elements of the story into their plots, using it as a backdrop to explore larger questions about the nature of democracy and the responsibilities of government. In academic circles, Operation Northwoods became a focal point for discussions about Cold War-era policy and the ethical boundaries of statecraft. Scholars and historians analyzed the broader context in which the proposals were formulated, examining the intense pressure and fear that characterized the period. They explored the psychological and political factors that drove military officials to consider such extreme measures, shedding light on the complexities of decision-making in times of crisis. The story of Operation Northwoods also had a significant impact on the political landscape. Lawmakers and policymakers grappled with the ethical implications of the revelations, debating how to ensure that governmental power was exercised responsibly and transparently. The revelations spurred calls for greater oversight and accountability, leading to the establishment of new mechanisms for monitoring government actions and preventing abuses of power. Advocacy groups and civil liberties organizations used the story as a rallying cry, pushing for reforms to protect individual rights and ensure that similar proposals could never again be seriously considered. One of the most enduring legacies of Operation Northwoods is its influence on public skepticism towards government. The revelation that the government had considered such extreme measures to achieve its objectives contributed to a growing sense of distrust among the American public. This skepticism was further fueled by subsequent scandals and revelations, such as the Watergate scandal and the Iran-Contra affair, which reinforced the perception that the government was capable of deceit and manipulation. This legacy of skepticism has had far-reaching consequences. It has shaped the way that many Americans view their government, fostering a sense of wariness and caution towards official narratives and actions. This distrust has manifested in various ways, from the rise of grassroots political movements, advocating for greater transparency and accountability, to the proliferation of conspiracy theories that posit hidden agendas and covert operations behind major events. The impact of Operation Northwoods on conspiracy theories cannot be overstated. For conspiracy theorists, the story provided concrete evidence that the government was capable of orchestrating false flag operations to achieve its objectives. This narrative has been woven into a host of conspiracy theories, ranging from the assassination of President Kennedy to the events of September 11, 2001. The idea that the government could stage events to manipulate public opinion has become a central tenet of many conspiracy theories, reinforcing a deep-seated suspicion of official accounts and fostering a culture of mistrust. In the realm of education, the story of Operation Northwoods has been incorporated into curricula as a case study in ethics and government. Educators use the story to prompt discussions about the responsibilities of those in power and the importance of ethical decision-making. Students are challenged to consider the broader implications of government actions and to reflect on the values that should guide those entrusted with the public's trust. The story serves as a powerful reminder of the need for vigilance and critical thinking in evaluating government actions and policies. The legacy of Operation Northwoods also extends to the realm of civil liberties and governmental oversight. The revelations underscored the need for robust mechanisms to check governmental power and prevent abuses. Advocacy groups and civil liberties organizations have used the story to push for reforms aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability. These efforts have led to the establishment of new oversight bodies and the strengthening of existing ones, helping to ensure that government actions are subject to scrutiny and that abuses of power are more likely to be exposed and addressed. In reflecting on the broader implications of Operation Northwoods, it becomes clear that the story is not just a historical curiosity, but a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical governance and the enduring need to protect democratic values. The story challenges us to remain vigilant in holding those in power accountable and to demand transparency and integrity in government actions. It serves as a call to action, urging us to uphold the principles of truth, justice, and democracy in the face of challenges and crises. As the narrative of Operation Northwoods continues to unfold, its lessons remain relevant for contemporary society. The story invites us to reflect on the balance between national security and civil liberties, to consider the ethical boundaries of statecraft, and to remain ever watchful in protecting the principles that define a just and democratic society. The enduring legacy of Operation Northwoods is a testament to the power of ethical leadership and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding democracy. In conclusion, the story of Operation Northwoods is a complex and multifaceted narrative that has left a lasting mark on American society. Its revelations have shaped public discourse, influenced policy, and fostered a deep-seated skepticism towards government. The story serves as a powerful reminder of the need for ethical governance and the importance of protecting democratic values in the face of challenges and crises. As we reflect on the lessons of Operation Northwoods, we are reminded of the enduring importance of truth, justice, and transparency in the pursuit of a just and democratic society. The enduring legacy of Operation Northwoods serves as a stark reminder of the critical importance of vigilance and skepticism in a democratic society. While the immediate shock of the proposals and their subsequent rejection by President Kennedy are well documented, the long-term implications of these events continue to influence the way we think about government power, accountability, and the ethical responsibilities of those who wield authority. As we delve deeper into the aftermath of Operation Northwoods, it is essential to recognize the profound impact it has had on public trust in government institutions. The revelation that high-ranking officials seriously considered such morally dubious actions to manipulate public opinion and justify war has left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of the American people. This chapter explores how this erosion of trust has manifested in various aspects of society and how it continues to shape our political landscape today. In the wake of the declassification of Operation Northwoods, a wave of disillusionment swept across the nation. Many Americans, already wary from the turbulent 1960s and 1970s, found their suspicions confirmed by the stark reality of these proposals. This erosion of trust was not limited to those who lived through the era. It has persisted across generations, influencing the way subsequent generations view their government. This skepticism has had a profound impact on political discourse in the United States. It has contributed to a climate of cynicism and suspicion that permeates discussions about government actions and policies. The narrative of Operation Northwoods is often cited in debates about the limits of executive power, the ethics of military and intelligence operations, and the potential for government overreach. This climate of distrust has made it more challenging for government officials to gain public support for policies, particularly those related to national security and foreign interventions. The influence of Operation Northwoods extends to the realm of policymaking and legislative oversight. Lawmakers, aware of the historical precedent set by these proposals, have sought to implement safeguards to prevent similar abuses of power. The establishment of new oversight bodies and the strengthening of existing ones are direct responses to the lessons learned from Operation Northwoods. These mechanisms are designed to ensure greater transparency and accountability in government operations, providing a check against potential abuses of power. The revelations about Operation Northwoods have also galvanized civil liberties organizations and advocacy groups. These groups have used the story as a rallying cry to push for reforms aimed at protecting individual rights and ensuring government transparency. Efforts to enhance whistleblower protections, increase access to government information, and strengthen judicial oversight of government actions are all part of a broader movement to prevent the kind of abuses contemplated in Operation Northwoods. In the educational sphere, Operation Northwoods has become a critical case study in ethics, government, and history courses. Educators use the story to prompt discussions about the responsibilities of those in power and the importance of ethical decision-making. Students are challenged to consider the broader implications of government actions and to reflect on the values that should guide those entrusted with the public's trust. The story serves as a powerful reminder of the need for vigilance and critical thinking in evaluating government actions and policies. The impact of Operation Northwoods on conspiracy theories and public perception of government actions is another significant aspect of its legacy. The story has provided fertile ground for conspiracy theorists, who see in Operation Northwoods validation of their suspicions about government secrecy and manipulation. This narrative has been woven into a host of conspiracy theories, reinforcing a deep-seated suspicion of official accounts and fostering a culture of mistrust. For conspiracy theorists, the existence of Operation Northwoods is proof that the government is capable of orchestrating events to deceive the public. This belief has been amplified by the internet, where forums and websites dedicated to uncovering government conspiracies have proliferated. The story of Operation Northwoods is frequently cited as evidence of the dark underbelly of government actions, further fueling distrust and suspicion among segments of the population. This legacy of skepticism has had far-reaching consequences. It has shaped the way many Americans view their government, fostering a sense of wariness and caution towards official narratives and actions. This distrust is manifested in various ways, from the rise of grassroots political movements advocating for greater transparency and accountability to the proliferation of conspiracy theories that posit hidden agendas and covert operations behind major events. In popular culture, the story of Operation Northwoods has been explored and dramatized in various forms of media. Documentaries, films, novels, and graphic novels have all delved into the details of the proposals, bringing the story to a wider audience and prompting viewers and readers to consider the ethical dilemmas faced by those in power. These cultural works have played a crucial role in keeping the story of Operation Northwoods alive in the public consciousness, ensuring that its lessons continue to resonate. As we reflect on Operation Northwoods' broader implications, it becomes clear that the story is not just a historical curiosity, but a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical governance and the enduring need to protect democratic values. The story challenges us to remain vigilant in holding those in power accountable and to demand transparency and integrity in government actions. It serves as a call to action, urging us to uphold the principles of truth, justice, and democracy in the face of challenges and crises. The enduring legacy of Operation Northwoods is a testament to the power of ethical leadership and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding democracy. As we look to the future, the lessons of Operation Northwoods remain relevant. The story invites us to reflect on the balance between national security and civil liberties, to consider the ethical boundaries of statecraft, and to remain ever watchful in protecting the principles that define a just and democratic society. In conclusion, the story of Operation Northwoods is a complex and multifaceted narrative that has left a lasting mark on American society. Its revelations have shaped public discourse, influenced policy, and fostered a deep-seated skepticism towards government. The story serves as a powerful reminder of the need for ethical governance and the importance of protecting democratic values in the face of challenges and crises. As we reflect on the lessons of Operation Northwoods, we are reminded of the enduring importance of truth, justice, and transparency in the pursuit of a just and democratic society. As we peel back the layers of history, we are left to ponder: how much do we really know about the forces that shape our world? And what other secrets lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of one of history's most controversial conspiracy theories. Stay curious and stay vigilant. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more intriguing stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know which conspiracy theories you'd like us to cover next.